Great. So on today's episode of Just Engage University, I have Allison Fleck. She is the owner of Bloom Culture Flowers. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So as you know, Just Engage University is an amazing podcast for engaged couples, either looking for planning tips, tools, resources. And I just thought that your company and what you do would be perfect for our couples. So why don't you introduce yourself and just give us a little bit of background of who you are and how you started your company?
Awesome. So like you said, I'm Allison Fleck. I own Bloom Culture Flowers, and we take a guided approach to DIY wedding flowers. And so what that means is we guide you through the entire process, but a little bit of background of how we got there. So I own two floral businesses. I own a local design studio that caters to weddings and events in Oklahoma City, where I'm based. And I have been in the floral industry since college. I worked as a floral assistant throughout college and never thought that I would, make a career of it. I got my degree in interior design, worked in corporate, hated corporate, and on an odd, just kind of life path, decided to start my own floral business. So I did that about 10 years ago. And then fast forward to a few years ago, Bloom Culture used to be kind of a side hustle, if you will, for Juniper, to where I would just teach community classes. I love teaching people about floral design. I think that there is a lot of anxiety or stress, like people, it's kind of unattainable. A lot of people think like, I could never do that. I could never design something as beautiful as that. And I'm like, guys, like, yeah, you really can. And I didn't grow the flowers. Like, the flowers are what makes it beautiful, and just really empowering people to say, like, it's not rocket science, it's flowers. Like, you can 100% do this. And then fast forward again, after I had my second child, I just really wanted to really serve a couple of different markets in floral design, to where I could see that there was a market where everybody just wanted, not everybody, but people wanted the full service floral design. But I also had a lot of clients coming to me that didn't necessarily fit that mold, that they were like, what are my other options? Like, what else can I do? Or how can I really start to save money? And that really challenged me to start thinking of how I could serve different types of clients and different types of needs. Everybody is getting married, but it's their wants and their needs and their budgets are all different. And so Bloom Culture was a way that I challenged myself to say, how can I serve different people? And one of the biggest foundational things that I realized was that you can pay somebody for their time, or you can spend your time doing something. And there's the monumental place where you can save money. And that really just got the ball rolling on how to empower people to spend their own time doing their own flowers.
Wow, there's so many great things you said, but I'm like, let me go back.
I talk a lot.
I know, I love it. I love it. So I want to kind of break it down, because the one thing that I love that you said is you're serving different markets. So I don't think in every piece of the puzzle of the wedding piece, clients or couples have that option. It's, sometimes it's just, this is what it is, and it's always been this way. And you kind of found a way to serve, full service. And then now with what you're doing now, which is a DIY, but you're also teaching them. And another thing that you said that's really important is time and money, so those are the things that couples always say, where can we save it on the budget? And a lot of times floral is one of the areas. And time is money. So sometimes people don't realize that. So it's nice to have the options. I want to kind of break it down to how a couple, or when a couple should start to think about, using your company, and then how the process works. Cause it's very easy. I've been on your website multiple times, seen you do, so many things on social media. So I want people to understand it's not hard, and I kind of think it's fun. And we'll kind of go down that road too, with maybe like bridesmaids or family members, because it's something that you did for your wedding with the people that you love. And that's kind of a reflection of, you the day of your wedding. So let's talk about the process and how you get started with Bloom Culture.
So I would say a lot of times people don't know where to start or when to start. So that's a great question. When to start would be when you have an idea of what you want and what you need. So maybe not right when you get engaged. I think a lot of people are really excited and they're like, I want to know which, I just want to know. And it's hard to really give somebody in full service or in DIY a hard, solid answer. Because a lot of times it really is based on the numbers. You know, how many bridesmaids do you have? Are you having bridesmaids? How many personal flower items do you need? What do you need for your ceremony? How many guest tables, so on and so forth. So we really need to have had time to think through those things. They don't need to be set in stone, because we typically encourage our clients to connect with us 6 months out. And we have a timeline. So with our whole process, we give you a timeline. Okay, 6 months out, these are the things you should be thinking about. 4 months out, 2 months out. And so it's not hard and fast all at once, like the week of your wedding. You've been thinking through this process for a while now, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And I think that is the part of our process that is the guided approach, to where I think there are so many things that people don't think about. And so I said earlier, you can spend money on someone else's time, or you can spend your time. But another thing that Bloom Culture does is save you time. You know, all the late night Googling, all the researching of like, well, okay, what rose is the color that I want it to be? And the internet is a real tricky place, because colors don't necessarily aren't represented great on a computer screen. And you know, I've had the experience to know tried and true flowers and colors that are really reliable. And I know, you know, it's second nature to me to think like, you know, if somebody can give me just an idea of what they want for their wedding, I can already start to ballpark numbers. And so I can really save you time. So much time. And I don't want to take the fun time off of Pinterest, but it's the time of like Googling of like, do I need a floral cooler? How far in advance do I order? I mean, all of these things are written out in the guide that we give you that is specialized to your wedding. So I'd say, you know, starting out, just have a broad idea of what you want, and we can really help you narrow in and work through some of those ideas too. And you know, and it's really helpful. You know, I don't treat a Bloom Culture bride any differently than I do a full service bride. I'm just not executing the flowers. So you get the same level of service. We talk through your wedding. We guide you through the decision-making process. And a lot of times at the end of the consultation, people have a more clear and more direct idea of what their wedding is actually going to look like. And they are just really excited to get married. They're like, I want the flowers to come tomorrow, instead of the hesitancy of, am I going to kill these flowers? Which is a whole blog post I'm writing, which I'm like, you are not a natural born flower killer. Like, that is not a character everybody is born with. So, you know, it's a really, I mean, I could talk for days about this, but I'm really passionate about really focusing in on what they need for flowers, really getting them the information that they need, and really getting that process lined out. So my goal is to take out all of the unknowns, you know, and I can't do that for everything, but we talk about transportation. Okay, I'm doing this and we're driving 2 hours. What's that going to look like? And so having been through it all, I can give them the tips and tricks that I do for transportation and things like that. So, you know, a lot of times people think it's odd to pay for a DIY service, but you're paying, it's kind of a backwards thought. You pay to save money. So you're paying somebody for their expertise, but you're executing your flowers, which is saving so much time. So you do pay a little bit for all of that guidance, but in the long run, and I'm not making these numbers up, you can save thousands.
No, I believe that.
Dollars,
I believe it.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times couples don't know, you know, the behind the scenes and like the numbers, and for floral, especially for real floral, because some things can be seasonal, some things you may not even be able to get that time of the year. So I think it's important that even if they don't know, like you said, a set quantity, but if they know what flowers they want and they know what month they're going to get married, they could already have a consultation and be like, okay, this is great. Those aren't going to be available, but let me save you time and tell you what's similar
Right.
that can, save you some money. Or maybe we just do a few pieces with that flower. And so
100%.
they don't know that. And that's where you can help them save more money. And then, closer to, they can get back to you like with the details of how many, we added in some more tables.
Right.
So let's talk about that process. So they do a consultation with you, and then when do flowers get ordered and delivered?
So from initially the time of your consultation, I noticed, I mean, there are some clients that are calling me a year out. So I'm having 2021 people. In fall of 2019, I'm getting just, a lot of people that are even getting married this fall. So the timeline of it is you can really set your consultation whenever. Like I said, I suggest doing it a little bit closer to where you would know some hard numbers. But I recommend no further than 3 months out, just because it gives me time to better serve you and source for you. So whenever we have the consultation, like I said, I kind of I send out a questionnaire so I get an overview, and then we really talk through the specifics. And a lot of times when we talk through the specifics, it brings up things that people are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I didn't even know about that. And I sound like a broken record. I'm sure like sometimes if I'm doing an evening consultation, my husband's like, oh my God. And I'm like, yeah, I say that to every client because it's really good information. And there's another approach to it. When I got married, one person in particular just made me feel so incredibly small, and her response, and I don't know if this is just like me augmenting my memory with this, but I feel like she may have patted me on my head. I don't really know if she did.
Oh my
I
goodness.
feel like it was like, oh, sweetie. And she was just like, sweetie, I do this every day. And I thought about it for like months. You know how like you think about like, how am I going to, I just wish I could have said something. But like the answer or the response that I finally came up months later was like, oh yeah, well, like I don't do this every day. And so I take that approach with all of my clients, knowing like this is your first rodeo. And even if it's not, if it's a second wedding or if you're helping somebody, that it's still fresh and it's still new. And so I talk through everything, and I bring up really similar ideas, which is like, have we talked about reusing items? And a lot, like 50% of the time people were like, oh yeah, we're totally reusing them. And 50% of the time people are like, mind blown, never thought about that. So we really dive into the specifics of your wedding. It's not a custom fit package that fits a small, medium, or large wedding. Everybody's needs, everybody's cultural background, everybody's color preference, everybody, if you want roses and baby's breath, or if you're like real boho with pampas grass, like you still need similar guidance. And I'm not here to judge your flower choices or your color choices because I love them all. But we talk through all of those specifics really in depth. And then we go through, after we've had the consultation, we design the wedding. So we make the floral recipes, which sounds just like it is. It's like cooking, but with flowers that you don't cook. But you know what I mean? Like you follow a recipe, like you need a half a bunch of eucalyptus, and you need 5 roses, and so on and so forth. So you have all the ingredients there. And then the client will, take a look at all of the recipes. We've got thumbnails and images of the flowers that we are proposing so that they can see it all at a glance. I mean, no, it's not going to be their perfectly made bouquet, but they can see the color palette, they can see the textures together. And then we let them know the pricing on that. And so once we've gone through maybe a revision or two, that's really typical. It's not a set, like set in stone when we send this to you. A lot of times people will be like, okay, we've talked after a few months and we need to add something, or we've talked after a few months and we actually aren't going to do this big ceremony piece. And so, we're here for the long haul. And I think that's one thing that is really valuable, is that you have us in your back pocket for those small questions that you need to ask along the way. And instead of Googling them and then trying to make the decision of like, I guess this is what I'm going to do, you can just say, hey, Al, this is what's happening. What would you suggest? And I'm like, this is what I would do. And this is, in my experience, what I've done. And it's just a really, instead of making the process kind of all over the place, it's just a straight line from, having the consultation to getting your flowers. we want to take away as many unknowns as possible. And the more prepared you're going to be, the less frantic it's going to feel. And so I think that that's where you hear all the DIY horror stories and almost every single bride that I talk to, somebody's trying to talk them out of it. And I actually had a consultation the other day that I kind of got emotional about it, because she was just like, can I thank you? And I'm like, no, you can't thank me. But she was just like, your business has empowered me to do this, and I'm saving money, which is how we want to start our marriage. And, it was just wonderful, because I want to empower people that they can do it. But with any new skill or any new thing that you're learning, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty, and I want to take out that uncertainty. So once we get everything kind of nailed down, I send them over a timeline, the recipes, supplies list, floral care and handling. There's so much that goes into that, and they have time to digest that between the point that they decide, to work with us and their wedding. So it's not like we withhold it, like once you're my client, you get all of this information. And then, we lay out the timeline. Typically a normal wedding that's on a Saturday, you'll get your flowers on a Wednesday, depending on the size and scale of your wedding and how many helpers that we suggest that you have. We help you with all of that. One thing that we've gotten some good feedback on is how to help your helpers. So a lot of times people are like, the bride will go into it and be like, we're going to do this. And then everybody looks to her and they're like, well, how do I make a bouquet? And, we have my tutorials, but she's typically the default person. And so we're trying to make some guides to say like, okay, hand this out beforehand. And it's up to them if they're going to read it or not, or look through the really condensed idea. But again, it's all about setting expectations and setting people up for success, instead of somebody walking into a situation that they're like, I don't know, I was just told to show up and make some flowers and I don't know what I'm doing. But making it a fun experience for everybody, and really by giving you the knowledge, by giving you all of that upfront material, it really strips away the uncertainty, and that strips away the stress.
Yeah, that's great. So I love that too, because it's almost like having a murder mystery party. You have to know your script before you go to the party.
That's really great. I'm gonna steal that. I'm like, you wouldn't go to a murder mystery not knowing your lines.
No, you have to be in your role. And so I'm glad you said Wednesday before the Saturday, because again, I mean, a lot of people may not know that you can start doing floral arrangements that far out. Some people are like, oh, you don't have to do them the day before. Well, first of all, you don't want to be doing them the day before your wedding. You want to be able to relax. And then, you can do like a fun, DIY party Wednesday beforehand, have some wine, some champagne, and then and do that. And I think that would be a fantastic. So they get delivered to the client's home.
Yeah, we do the client's home. We do a lot of destination weddings to Airbnbs, hotels. So essentially where you are, you just have to be there to receive them. And then one thing to note too is that when you get them on the Wednesday, there is some care and handling. So I don't recommend doing all of the arrangements on the Wednesday, just a time, but you do have to process them, hydrate them. Yes. So we typically have a timeline and tips and tricks how to expedite things. And just start this. And the first one typically takes 20 minutes and then you'll pick up speed after that. But I mean, a lot of times if you've got 5 bridesmaids bouquets and you've got 5 bridesmaids, everybody is working in the same 20-minute period and they're all done.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different than my approach, to where as a professional florist, I'm creating, and I have a team, but it's a little bit different in the sense of like, I typically have one person doing all the bouquets. And here you're having one person do each bouquet. And so there's difference in timing and things like that. So you can really, truly knock out a lot in a day or a day and a half. And I think the biggest, and I hit on this before, you're not a natural born flower killer. The biggest misconception is that you need a cooler and you need to keep them cold, because wedding floral is not retail floral, in the sense that when you order something from a florist for a get well or a new baby or congratulations or what have you, those they want to keep cold because they want you to experience them over a week or so of the floral being tight and closed up and then slowly opening, and you get to enjoy them throughout the week. For wedding floral, like it or not, I mean, it's optimum day is going to be the day of your wedding. And not that I don't care about it after that, but if something starts to get a little weepy or wilty on Sunday, great, as long as it performed for your wedding. And I mean, our product is fresh. And so sometimes people are like, this hasn't opened yet. And I'm like, here are tips and tricks to do that. But it's just not the same mentality as you would think of retail floral, is that you don't want to keep it in a cooler, because when you do that, you inhibit the opening of the bloom, and you want it to bloom. You want it to open. You want your roses to have big, beautiful heads on them. You don't want them to be this tight bullet, because they'll take up more surface area and you will use fewer blooms to make an arrangement than you would if it was like a really tight bullet rose. And so all of these things, it's second nature to me, but a lot of people don't take that approach because they've been conditioned in a traditional floristry sense that you need to have a cooler, you need to keep it closed, you need, all of the stuff where I'm like, no, we want them open and prancy and, at their best and singing hallelujah on that day. So.
And so from a business perspective, you source locally based on where the clients are getting married. So you have those, or is it still getting like flown in or delivered?
Both.
Not flown, okay.
Both. We have some pickup locations. Most of our clients are not pickup though. We do drop ship to them. So ideally, in an ideal world, we would be continuing to working on partnerships where they could have local pickups. Sustainability and just even easy approachability. And it would also alleviate the worry of like, what if my flowers arrive dead? All of that stuff. So we're constantly working towards making new partnerships, but predominantly right now, we do drop ship. But I mean, it's a FedEx priority overnight. And I'm in a landlocked state. So a lot of times I get my stuff flown in. So I have a lot of experience with that. So I know how to revive flowers. I know that when they come in, they might look, I mean, after I've been traveling the whole day, I look slightly dead too, so I'm like, I just need to eat and sleep and get some water, we all need to like hydrate more. And so I'm just like, and it's amazing. Somebody, they ordered some garden roses and they were like, they don't look great. And I'm like, no, they don't, but let them hydrate overnight. And they relaxed and started opening. And, we show you tips and techniques. To spin a rose, you put the stem in your hand and you just spin it gently. And it really helps the petals just, relax and open up. And so a lot of times people can go from something that's really tight and it's been tight for a day or two and you can spin it and it's like, oh, you just have to gently help it open up a little bit. That's not the case for everything, but I don't know if like Farmers Insurance or whatever is gonna like sue me or not, but I'm like, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
We can use it. We can use it.
But it's true.
I love that. And so one of the things that you did talk about, but I wanted to kind of go over again, is just kind of you're giving everyone tools and resources, and I know you have tutorials on your YouTube channel. So this is something that, again, they can process a year, 6 months out, and they're almost teaching themselves through you, so that when it's time to do their arrangements and everything's ready, they're able to not freak out and be able to do them.
Right. It is their first rodeo, but it's not. I can't even believe that I do this, but like sometimes I'll like revert to my third grade teacher, or even like in college. Like if you're going to cram the night before, you're not going to do as well on the test had you studied a week or two in advance. And it's the same application. If you take a minute or two each month to just kind of look over some material, watch one tutorial a month, and pick out the tutorials. We've got so many on there. Not everyone's going to be a fit for your needs. So pick out the bouquet tutorial that you're like, that's what I'm going to use to build this, and then watch it 1 or 2 times so that you're not watching it for the very first time on the week of your wedding. Because again, when you do that, it creates a stressful, unknown environment. But when you go into it knowing, it's not as stressful and it's actually more fun. So, I just think of in college when I did study and when I didn't study, and the feeling that I had for both.
And I think one of the things too that I like that you provide is you're already taking the thinking part out of it. You're not having to worry about how many stems do I need? What if I don't have enough? What if some die? Versus someone going, oh, I can just watch those YouTube videos and go pick up floral myself. But we're talking about floral in bulk. So that's something that you're already eliminating in that process. And you're like, based on this
Right.
quantity, based on these tables, we're just going to send you what you need. And obviously
Right.
some extra.
Right. Yeah. And we do account for, typically even in professional floral design, there's about a 5 to 10% loss. And a lot of people don't know that, they're like, well, a stem died. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's going to happen. And
Yeah, or
I think
cut something
I think
wrong.
about it like
Yeah.
produce too. I mean, flowers are non-edible produce, it's a living organic thing. And its performance is going to be based on its health, on its environment, on its care. But at the end of the day, sometimes you're just going to get a mealy apple. You're just going to get something that you get a great bag of apples and you take a bite of 5 of them and they're great. And then the 6th one, you're like, no, and that's just life, and so to kind of coach people through accepting that and trying not to freak out when a rose head snaps off or a bunch is really limp and you can't get it revived, and I can help you do that, or I can replace that for you. So yeah. And kind of one thing that you said too is I think a lot of people think that that flowers by like bulk or pardon me, I keep saying 2 different things, that buying flowers in bulk, it can be a really good way to go, but it can also be really limiting on what you have access to. So
Yeah. And I mean, if you need,
anemones, like, I guess you're just having anemones at your wedding. And so
right.
with bloom culture, you can have that variety, you can have that style. And so, it's, yeah, but you don't have to worry.
Well, you're eliminating all the stress. I mean, it's
Yeah.
there, it's done. There's extra. There's no like, I got to run out to the store, or can somebody go pick some more up? It's done. So it's stress-free process. You're obviously targeting a demographic and a market that needs this, because they don't know it's out there. And one of the main reasons why I started the podcast was just education for wedding planning in general, and things that come up during, before, and then also just other things like finances and budgeting and things that you should be doing before. So it's all around wedding season education. And I think the more business owners and companies that we have out here making couples understand, again, the behind the scenes, the why, then it all starts to make sense, versus when most people come and see me first because I'm a venue, and they're sitting here like, wait, what? So there's 10 more pieces? I'm like, yeah, we're just the venue, but
yeah.
And what I don't want you to do is spend all your money on the venue and on the dress, and then you can't have the food and the flowers and the bar and there. So it's the holistic view, and then diving deep in each piece, and understanding that it doesn't have to be exactly like everybody else. I think once you learn about every piece of a wedding puzzle, then you can decide, oh, you know what, that's not for me. I don't want to worry about that, or that's really important to us, so maybe we need to make some priorities. So I love what you're doing. I know you have a great social media pictures. What is your preference? Or if a client is listening now, a couple's listening now, like, oh my God, we want to go see it. What's the best way to really understand what bloom culture does, and where can they find you?
So I would say 3 great places to come and find us would be our website, which is bloomcultureflowers.com. And social media, I would say Instagram, it's our handle is Bloom Culture Flowers. And then our YouTube channel, Bloom Culture Flowers. Like, I'm just going to keep saying it over and over. Those are the 3, I would say, top resources that you can really, truly get an idea of who we are, get a visual of who we are. Our website is really jam-packed with a lot of information. We have a budget estimator on there, which really helps a lot of our clients, everybody, even if they become a client or not. I think one of the biggest things is people just don't know, well, how much will my money get me? How much can I have? How much, and so to alleviate that question, because a lot of times I would say, well, what's your budget range? And they wouldn't, I don't know how much I can get for that. I mean, they aren't able to look at something and really put a price tag to it. And why should they? They've never done this before.
Right.
So we did the budget estimator on our website so that it could really help people go in and say, well, I'm thinking of doing this. and let's see how much that would cost. And they get this budget range and they're thinking, I actually kind of want to get under that. So maybe I eliminate a couple. It helps them and empowers them to do it themselves. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, if I don't know how much it is, okay, well, here's some guidelines. It's not set in stone, but at least they can have a ballpark and at least have a comfort zone of, okay, I can get this under 1,000. That's great. Or, okay, I don't know if I can do this for 300, you know?
Right.
At least
Well,
empowers them to make the decision.
It's something that, again, is not available. You don't normally go onto a florist website and be like,
No.
how much is it going to be for this? So it's good to know up front, especially a lot of the couples that are looking for, you know, services like this don't have a wedding planner that's trying to help them go through that either. So, you know, each piece of that puzzle that they can get and they know how much it's going to cost, it's going to be getting that, it's going to be easier for them to understand a more holistic and realistic budget versus doing it each piece at a time and taking it away from somewhere else. So we'll definitely link that into the show notes because I love free resources. And so what I'll do is I'll have your YouTube channel. I think that's great for couples who are looking for tutorials, being interactive. I love your Instagram, beautiful pictures, so you guys can get inspiration and ideas of what you want for your wedding. And then just to contact you directly and to learn more about you, we'll make sure we have your website on there as well. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and really talking about what it is that your company services and does. What would be your one piece of advice just for couples in general that just got engaged, that are starting their wedding planning journey? What would you, being in the industry, give them as advice?
I would say a couple of things would be just make sure that you're doing the things that you want to do. A lot of people are going to tell you that you should do this and you should do that and you need to do this. And it's hard. It's really hard to put a boundary there sometimes. And a lot of times that's coming from a really good place, but it's not really helpful. So really, you know, really stick to your partner and really talk things through with your partner and really honor things that might not be important to them, but are that important to you, and just really talk through all of those things. And then the second one is going to just be an industry thing that I stick to. This is probably like one of my principles, I guess you could say, which is put money where people are going to see it, and that will help you prioritize. You know, a lot of times people will want to have petals down the aisle or flowers on your aisle or flowers all over the place. But I think that in an effort to streamline your how many flowers you make or how many flowers you need in all of these things, think of it from, you know, try to think of it at least from a photographer's perspective. If you're researching your photographers, what are the types of imagery that you're looking at? And a lot of times it's the bouquet, the bride and her bouquet. It's the ceremony, like a beautiful picture framed of the ceremony. You don't really see, you see a lot of inspiration pictures from receptions, but those aren't really highly photographed. So in a sense, like I don't think that you need, you know, backdrops and, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be elaborate. If that's something that you want, we will 100% help you. But my biggest takeaway is just kind of put money where people and your photographer are going to see it, so that it will be photographed, because that's the main way that people experience their wedding after their wedding. Is I remember looking through my pictures being like, oh, that was pretty. Yeah,
yeah, because you don't remember anything.
I did that. No. And so, you know, just put money where people are going to see it. Because if you're going to spend the money, make sure that they and your photographer see it. That's my two biggest pieces.
I love it. Well, Allison, I really appreciate you being on. Like I said, I'll have everything available for couples and how they can get a hold of you. So I look forward to talking to you in the future as well.
Thank you so much.